Betsy and Thomas here for the American Intelligence Media, and there's so much winning going on, we didn't even know where to get started with today's report. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our cat report that was posted on October 19th and kind of run through some of these headlines. And with Thomas, we don't know where we're going to wind up. So all I can say is just buckle up, because you know how it is. Now, before we get started, we have a Patriot, David, who's very, very upset about our last article. I guess we just red-pilled him way too much. He don't want to hear anything about it. We have written a blockbuster report on the Damascus experience. I don't want to talk about that in this one, but I will just say is when Douglas and Tyler, when we started this out, we said we're going the whole way. We're going to share with you our truths as we know them. We were with you in the beginning, early on, telling you that these false flags were propaganda. We pointed you in all the directions. Then we showed you that the DNC was hacked by Dmitry Alperovich, CrowdStrike, whatever. And then we've taken you as far as now showing you where this is really an attempted overthrow of Donald Trump by the Privy Council and the Pilgrim Society. Why would you think that we would stop and not continue our search for truth? Because, see, it's very important. If you want to understand and see the big cosmology that we're working with, you have to ask yourself the question, why have these people, for well over 100 years, done everything they can to suppress us as human beings? What is it about the human nature that they don't want us to know? And what we've done in the Damascus Experience report is we've given you a glimpse of what is next to come. But Thomas, not everybody's going to go with us on this part of the journey.
Well, that's okay. There's many aspects to this. The experience that's called the Damascus Experience is a well-known psychiatric condition that has become more prevalent ever since the 30s. Anyone who doesn't know that simply has not researched it. And then if you want to talk about Damascus itself, nothing is more of a threshold experience than just talking about Damascus. Why? If Damascus falls, then that's the entire fate of the Middle East is determined by Damascus. And why was it that St. Paul, or Saul, was turned into St. Paul when he had his Damascus experience? And why was it at Damascus? So these are very big questions. And if you can't follow some of the things that we have researched and we share with you, as Betsy has said, out of simply the search for truth, that's okay. But remember one thing, the same development of intelligence that is involved in the discernment of truth applies everywhere.
Okay, great. All right, so let's talk about, it's just so much winning. I think the big winning on the board today is what I call Patriot math. Look at the stats from the Dallas rally. 12% have not voted in the last 4 elections. 21.4% attendees at the rally were Democrat and 11% Latino. How does it make you feel?
That's confirmation of what we already said, which is he's going to win, and he's going to win in a landslide. Now let's look at the first number. Trump won the last time because why? People came out and voted who hadn't voted in their entire life, because for once they saw a political candidate that they believed was telling the truth and was honest and it was being transparent, which is so rare that literally people who were in their, very, very old came and voted first time in their life for Trump. Now, we see that the people who showed up there, what's the percent? 12% have never voted in the last 4 elections. Well, folks, those are the ones who got in and got recorded. The ones at home, the ones who are the quiet majority, the silent majority, who are now becoming the loud majority. Oh, much bigger than 12%.
We're not the silent majority anymore. We are the get-in-your-face loud majority, because what we can do with technology now, you can take a small group, you can go to your congressperson's office, and you can have a meeting. You can confront them and ask them the questions that the propaganda media won't ask. And then you can put that on your phone, your cell phone, and you can send it up to the mothership, and we post it, and we get the word out everywhere. So that's how we can, speak locally and then act globally.
Yes, and that's Republicans using Democratic mob tactics, which is good, but we're peaceful. And amazing what you posted on the Cat Report that these women went in MAGA hats, red hats with shirts that say "Stop the Coup," and they swarmed Washington, D.C.
It was Jerry Nadler's office, and they wanted to speak to him. They're sick and tired of this impeachment stuff.
And it was just beautiful because why? Nobody's going to punch them out. Nobody's going to do what they would do to them if Antifa had a warning of it and they could have been there. Or notice Black Lives Matter wasn't standing next to them, opposing them, because why? They're a domestic terrorist group. So what you have now is what I have always believed and we have been promoting. And for those people who don't follow over the bridge in the glass speed game to our other side, that's okay. But if you did, you'd find out that we have said that it is the age of woman. Not a resurrected old matriarchy, but a brand new one that takes a completely new approach. And that's what's needed. And there's names for it, and different religions and legends predict this, but it's basically the age of woman. And it has started, and it is not going to end. And so you get to see when the Hildebeest attacks the anonymous person, and they all know it's, of course, Tulsi Gabbard. You get to see other women, Marianne Williamson and all these other women, come out and say, that's horrible what you just said. And for once, out of a woman's mouth, Tulsi got to state who Hillary really is. And it's one of the first times anyone has ever given a short but the most accurate version of her. She is the rot of the Democratic Party. She is a warmonger. She is a murderer, but without using the terms that an aggressive male version would have had. So the female version of putting down Hillary Clinton was one of the most beautiful things I've seen. The women on Capitol Hill attacking the offices of these demon rats who call themselves politicians or representing their constituency, which they don't. They only represent themselves and gathering money for themselves. So I just think it's fantastic. But now let's go back to the statistics. The big statistic there is not only the Latino statistic, but a statistic of the walkaways, the Democrat walkaways. Because this is a number that cannot be calculated. Because every single day, because Trump is baiting them. And why does he bait them? Because he's running a reality television show called The Presidency. And he knows how to get entertainment, how to get attention, how to get everyone's attention. And he knows that the type of short bites of intelligence that he can give out. And so he has mastered the art of now manipulating anyone through the media. And the media is the message. The message is a truthful, honest president who believes in the rule of law. Whoa, that's such a shock. It got everybody's attention and has had it ever since. Now,
well, that's because the criminal class has been in charge for a long time.
Exactly, and the globalists went nuts. And so what they see now, and I loved the way that people characterize this, they show a picture, as they're doing alternative news, and they show a picture of Trump and the groups of people who are gathering, and then they say basically, don't even try to give me an election that isn't a landslide victory for Trump, or else. In other words, they're basically saying, don't try any of your election rigging. We can see on television that he will win by a massive landslide. And if you try to do anything otherwise, we're simply going to oppose that election. So if George Soros thinks he could oppose the 2016 election, which he has, even to this very day, this is an attempt at a regime overthrow using an election, trying to make it fraudulent, which it wasn't. Get ready, because it's going to be reversed in the next election.
But look, it is also, it's our Woodstock moment. I mean, to attend one of these rallies, I thank you so much, Debbie. She wrote in and said, I felt like I was among my people. She was one of the 50,000 that attended the Trump rally in Dallas, and she got inside, and then she wrote to us and told us about that experience. Now, I have the link to the Cat Report, and it's really well worth the short read. But she says, my last comment will be about President Donald Trump. Every photo I took of him seemed to have a golden halo around his face like an angel. He is the stable genius that he says he is. I'm convinced, and I'm not fooled easily.
Yeah. I'm just like you, Betsy. This is like a rock concert. But we don't even have to go like to Woodstock and get muddy. We can stay at home and we can participate in the most exciting political events in U.S. history. And as she was describing there, it was so beautiful. She said a number of things I want to focus on, but essentially she was, well, let's go to the point. She said it started with a prayer and the singing of the Star-Spangled Banner and the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance. Every Monday morning as a principal, I would gather my entire school into one area and I would speak to them. And we all started with positivity statements that we'd all memorized, which were part of the school's motto and so on and so forth. And then we sang the national anthem and we said the pledge to the flag. And then we did exactly what Trump did. You talk with the people. And as the principal, I'm not there for me, I'm there for you. So what's going on? Anybody got a problem? Let's solve it now. The school never had any discipline problems, any school I ever did that with. Why? That's what Trump is doing with the whole United States. And the globe is coming around too. The rest of the world is coming around. And eventually they're going to do exactly as we said. They're going to be bowing and scraping at his feet. And so far we can go on in our winning about how much bowing and scraping is going on.
And look, it doesn't matter if you're inside or outside. You're going there to support the Patriots. You're the Patriots. And like Debbie says, when you get there, you feel like you're among your people. And your presence speaks volumes to patriots around the world because these pictures are going everywhere. So if you're in the area, get your tickets. Join the celebration to bring lasting and real peace and prosperity to the planet.
And what's beautiful is the winning part of that. The winning part is he's not faking anything. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to worry about impeachment. He's not guilty. He didn't have to worry about Robert Mueller. He didn't do anything wrong. It was the opposite. As a matter of fact, it's always the opposite of what they say. So he's not worried. And so what's happening as he is having the largest political gatherings in U.S. history, the opposition can't pull together a few people in Iowa to meet over a chicken roast where they give away free food. Okay, that's what you got Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris doing. They can't gather 20 people together. Now, last election, president's election, what did we find? Hillary Clinton had to invent crowds. She had to literally, through computer graphic imaging, she had to create crowds. And she would go into a high school auditorium and couldn't fill it and had to fill the crowd with digital people. So we're getting to see now that it's a big, big fake. We're getting to see that, a Bernie. Oh, I like Bernie. Bernie's back from death, folks. We warned you he'd have a heart attack, right? Well, okay, he had a heart attack. He's out. Biden, we warned you that it would be Biden's son that would take Biden out. We warned you. We told you. So you didn't have to worry. So after all of this, if you thought for a minute Biden was going to win, you just weren't paying attention to us. We told you Biden will be sunk by his son. And why? Because his son is a drug addict. He's a cocaine addict. He stole his brother's wife. He divorced his wife because he's a freak. And then Joe Biden's a complete idiot he has to have some kind of dementia. Listen to him speak. So what we have here is every time Trump does anything that is just part of Trump being his, bodacious, macho, I'm for America cheerleader, which we all love, and I'm going to use capitalism and sanctions instead of bombs. We all love that. And what's it proving? That the demon rats coming out like a Susan Rice. You want to talk about women?
That's just where we were going to go.
That's not a woman.
And because Trump is also, he's weaponized his tweets. We've watched this for several years, but this is an information war. And when you speak truth so directly to so many people at once, boom, slam, that's like a bomb. And he dropped one on Susan Rice. Why? What does he want us to know about Susan Rice?
Well, okay, we screamed and yelled like he did when she came out the first two times to try to tell him how to handle his foreign affairs, okay? And so then the third time he couldn't take it, and so he squared off with her. And I just love the picture of him standing there looking at the little tiny Susan Rice on the picture of Time magazine. Here's who Susan Rice is. 4.5 million people she genocided in Africa, her own people. Don't get me started. We're talking about winning. The winning happened when we stopped the Obama complete sellout of every person in Africa. And Susan Rice literally used our military to kill 4.5 million people, to divide countries in Africa. When she couldn't win over the countries, she'd divide them in half and make sure that we got the half with the oil. This is Susan Rice. You couldn't have had a more evil person. Think of Libya. Think of the Congo. Think of Zaire. Think of the experiments going on there. Think of what she's allowed the evil eugenist Bill Gates to do there with his green program, where he brags that he has now given out shots that will kill 17% of all Africans. That's Susan Rice. So when she wanted to square off with him, then he said, well, how about what you did in Syria? You created this mess. Remember, we created Al-Qaeda. We helped Assad create ISIS, ISIL, IS, al-Nusra, and the other groups, the other 5 groups I'm not naming inside of Syria, who are all basically participating in a chaotic Marxist civil war over oil, while Russia sits back and says, thank you for giving us a Mediterranean operations center. And we didn't, Obama didn't care. Obama allowed Russia to move into Syria and take over the Mediterranean, and no one says boo. He bombs 7 countries, kills 2 million people, and nobody says boo. He shakes his finger. A Republican, shook their finger in Obama's face, and they gave her hell for years over it. But Pelosi can stand up, shake her finger at Trump in a completely staged event, refuse to work with him on any point whatsoever, and basically be the do-nothing Democrats, demon rats as I like to call them, fascist or whatever you'd like to call them, the party of George Soros. Anyway, what we see right now is a focus on the feminine that is amazing, because Trump is doing a feminine politician view. Instead of the Mitt Romney, I'm the big, tough capitalist who I'm not going to tell you about Bain Capital and how I got my money from Jonathan Bush and ripping off Russia with Daddy Bush. No, I'm going to simply be your president and tell you what I believe in. And if I change my belief today, I'll tell you. And I'll tell you everything I know that I can, because I'm serving the American people. That's what the Democrats say all the time, but it's nothing more than lies and rhetoric. But with Trump, it's the truth, and we love it. And what we are seeing here, remember, we're a year out from the election, folks. Yeah. He's only just started.
Well, and it's good that we have a year to go, because we've got Patriots now really paying attention to the election rigging process. And we have a Patriot out in Washington State that's doing a lot of work out there with the election rigging. Please dip into the CAT report. Again, it is linked in the description box, because he's given about 5 different things that he's seeing is going wrong in Washington State, including this Optech software that's inside their the ballot boxes, or runs the ballot boxes, because these are the kinds of things that you Patriots out there can go to your state and see if that's also being done there in your state.
Now, when he said those things about Mitt Romney and basically said that he is a plant, he's a secret agent for the demon rats in the Republican Party. That's true. And he wants to make sure that Romney doesn't lead a group of people in case the vote for impeachment gets out of the House, which it looks like it may not. I thought it would, because I thought they'd hide all of this and just move forward. But it's all coming to light because Pelosi's so bad at it. And Elijah Cummings, his heart must have been so guilty that he died of it. I'm sorry to have to say that, but let's remember Elijah Cummings has stole billions of dollars from the people in his own district. This is not a good man. And then he gave it to his wife, and then his wife ran for governor, and then they found out that the corruption, they didn't let her run for governor. And then what happened? Nothing happened. Except that now he attacks Trump. And he attacks with lies after lies after lies. So, and then you see the...
Wait. That was the fact. Whose wife ran for governor?
Elijah Cummings.
Oh, Elijah Cummings. Okay.
He's as corrupt as anyone could possibly be.
Look, if I got it confused in my head, what you said, there may be others, so I have to ask for clarification.
Any district he represents
Elijah
becomes
Cummings, yes.
infested.
Of course, it's Baltimore, it's rats, it's a whole bit.
Yeah. So...
But, we wondered if his death wasn't, one of those synchronistic things that really the Democrats used to their advantage, and so they have someone in place for him.
Oh, yeah, that's the next point. It's a woman. And so trying to use women in the age of the new age of woman, which is an age of light and truth, and but also when you have truth and you have wisdom, you have to stand up for it. And sometimes people get, if you're ignorant, then it may feel like your head's been lopped off. So Pelosi appointed her twin sister, Carolyn Maloney, 14th District, New York, downtown New York, Manhattan. As corrupt as you can possibly be, right there along with Adler. And
Nadler.
I always say Adler because I always think of a snake when I think of him, or a bullfrog. Anyway, Jerry Nadler, yeah. And so she appointed probably the most corrupt person in Congress that's a female besides herself. So that person will simply do what she's told, and it will go on with the same attack. And you get to see good old Pelosi wearing a shell of a bullet and a bracelet and making a reference to how they have to stop Trump and then pointing at her bullet over and over again, a spent shell. In other words, this is a person who's saying, oh, I'm against all weapons, but she's wearing a spent shell. Well, who did the bullet get shot at, Pelosi? You're wearing the spent shell. Who did they shoot the bullet at? Well, we know what you're telling because you keep wearing that stupid Roman scepter on your lapel, which means you want to be the Caesar. And you've already stated that you not only wish to impeach Trump, but you wish to impeach Biden, and then you wish to impeach all the cabinet members so that you can become the president and then appoint your own vice president. This is insanity, of course, on your part, but you are insane. And when you see a woman trying to fight in the realm of the aggressive patriarchal system of our government, which is basically, Trump just called this out. And what did he call it, Betsy? He called it the rogue.
Oh, the rogue, bureaucratic, deep state, yes. And I'm getting excited because they're getting very close. They're not naming it, though. They need to name it. It's called Senior Executive Service. But that's about the closest way I've seen it described.
When he added the word rogue,
yes,
what that meant is he understood, exactly as we've told you over and over again, he cannot call out the Senior Executive Service because it is legal. And the second he did, he would have resistance and they would never be able to change any laws in relationship to it. But what they don't know is that he can modify the whole thing once he gets reelected, which is what he intends to do. And he can't call it out now because it would become an issue of contention. What he's doing is he's letting us know, all of us who are listening carefully, and that's what we've attempted to try to share with you, is the ability for discernment based upon not following what your eyes tell you, not following what your ears tell you, but listening to your heart. And so if you are listening very careful to what Donald Trump is saying, he's saying there is a rogue bureaucratic section of our government. That is what he just said. And understand that there are things you can predict no matter what. For instance, we predicted the second that James Comey, before he was done with his exoneration speech for Hillary Clinton in front of the nation, an emergency presentation, as it were, exonerating her, we were screaming. That's myself and the other members of the conclave who happened to be sitting around hearing this at that moment, including yourself. I don't think you were screaming, Betsy, but I certainly was. And what was I saying? Hundreds of people will go down because of this. And I probably jumped up and screamed and ran around the room and yelled and threw things and said, hundreds of people. Okay, I was wrong. It's only 38 people with 98 cases of 600 illegal communications with the Hildebeest. Now, Tom Fenton, that's what you call real heavy lifting. Because why? Pompeo came in, and as we told you, he was going to continue the investigation. Now, this is what people don't know. I'm going to tell you something right now. Conclave members, put your hat on. You don't know this. What was really happening? Well, John Kerry was covering up the fact that I don't remember what the percentage was, but let's just say hundreds of members of the State Department were caught for pornography on State Department computers. Anybody remember this? Then they went to the Pentagon and they found, 400, 600, 800, I can't remember. Hundreds of federal employees were using their computers to get child porn, every type of porn. They used their credit cards. In some cases, they used their government credit cards. In some cases, they literally used their computers to go onto the dark net so they could think they could get around their pornography. They were all found out, and an investigation was begun.
Oh, and I bet it went to the IG office to die.
Well, they never did. No, that's an interesting point. That's where it would have died, but they can't hide this. And so what happened is they did a deal. And the deal was, we won't prosecute those people, but now we have to look into how many of those people, and I'll explain what I'm talking about here in a second, because no one else is going to tell you this. 497 of them they couldn't prosecute. Why? They had part of the immunity as part of the pornography deal. So 38 of them will go down. I told you, there's hundreds of them. It is impossible for only 38 of them to go down with 98 messages that were marked secret, top secret, and were absolute violations. No. Every single one of the 60,000 communications of Hillary Clinton was a separate felony. Period. No way around it. And anyone who communicated with her through those devices, her BlackBerry, her server, her computer, because it was a non-secure line, committed a crime. Now, at the end of this new report that states this, which Pompeo had to do, Pompeo had to demonstrate to Trump that he would ferret out some of this. So he did. And so what does this do? Well, this then gives what? A conviction that can now be used against Hillary Clinton. And what did we tell you? We told you from the beginning that until the people who communicated with her on those non-secure lines and had to pay the price of their security violations, which may only be a slap on the hand, who knows, nothing can happen, because they will say, because then they would have to acknowledge that nothing did happen. But something did happen, and all of those people who were still at the State Department, and by the way, they're going to tell you the 497 other people can't be prosecuted because they no longer work for the State Department. Lie, triple lie to the lie power. When you sign a security agreement, you are held bound to it for 5 years, and then another 5 or another 5 after that, depending upon the nature of, if it was top secret, you're bound for a long time. If confidential, you're bound for 5 years, so it doesn't matter. These people can't get out of this. No longer working for the State Department has nothing to do with this. And Hillary Clinton is beginning to go down. That is the reason that everyone said she attacked Tulsi. It might not have been Tulsi. Why is she getting all upset? It didn't say her name. I'll tell you why she's upset. She's being paid to get upset.
Who, Tulsi?
Yes.
Okay.
Because why? She's a member of the Council on Foreign Relations.
Yes, absolutely.
As you pointed out to me yesterday, reminded me again, I went, that's right. Why? Because she's military. The CFR always has to have military in their pocket too. So they have her. Now, generally, it's a Rhodes Scholar. So let's talk about Tulsi for a second. Tulsi says the battles between her and Hillary, wrong. No, you're not even in the fight, Tulsi, Miss Gabbard. Because of some of the crazy things you've said. Notice she's changed her opinion on many things, backed off. She's no longer taking the demon rat opinion about these crazy issues: Green New Deal, no border, illegal aliens get free medical, and these crazy things.
That's because the people that are behind her realize that they cannot grab the voters that the crazy Democrats have going for them. So they've got to find that middle of the road, and what they're trying to do, which you just pointed out, is protect their military-industrial industry.
And when Elizabeth Warren looks as if she's the person who's going to win, and now notice we're talking about women. This is winning and women. Women on the other side are showing that they're losing. Women for Trump, look at all the women who came out for Trump. Look at all the women who stand up for Trump. Look at all the women in the audience. I don't care about what television shows you. Look at what's in the audience. Look what people are saying. Talk to the people who are there. Have you ever even heard of such a thing, that people would stand in line for 3 days?
No, you don't. I read the comments. They love him. They are devoted to him. They would do anything for him.
Pelosi basically stated she wanted to assassinate Trump, in my opinion. That's the reason she wore a bullet as a bracelet. If you were against weapons, why would you wear a spent shell as a bracelet? That's insanity. No, she was saying she wanted him dead. And we heard Biden say that Trump has to be stopped by the 17th. We heard others say that because he was in Texas, where Kennedy was shot, that he would be... No. You want to know why? There are so many people, and a lot of women, I'd say a huge amount of women, are praying for Trump, and that's what's protecting him. There's no other way to stop someone from being assassinated, period. No, not when you have all those people there. No way, no how. And where was he? He was in the grounds of his own enemy, Ilhan Omar, in Minnesota. And Black Lives Matter was there. Police did nothing. Antifa was there. They attacked people. Police did nothing. And yet Trump was unscathed. Don't worry, people. Our prayers are protecting him. Okay, Betsy, you're not going to bring this one up. And it's not women, but it's a big winning. Hang on to your hats, folks. This is so beautiful. This is so beautiful, it makes me cry propaganda tears. In other words, not real tears. Glenn Simpson wrote a book, and he says that he gave all of his information to Obama.
Yeah, I forgot we were going to talk about
Glenn
that.
Simpson wrote a book. The head of Fusion GPS paid $12 million by Perkins Coie, the lawyers who always represent the
He wrote
Demon
his
Rats.
own dossier.
He wrote his own book, his own alibi. It don't matter, because it isn't what he testified, and it isn't what Dianne Feinstein released as his testimony behind closed doors. Did I say her name wrong?
No, it's
I always do.
It's just that we say that he is the queen sweating it, so she's throwing him out there as fodder.
Now, we want to give a shout out to Vincent Vendetta. And
Yeah, we like it, Vincent Vendetta's channel.
Channel. Oh,
It's very edgy.
It's wonderful
It's-
because you always get it right.
Uh-huh.
And you, at the end of your beautiful film, which is on video, which is on the Cat Report again, I believe, today, or was that yesterday? You clearly point out how Glenn Simpson wrote this book. You haven't read it, of course, but you've heard what people say about it. We'd like to read it because we'll laugh throughout the whole thing. But at the end, you state that it's going to point at the Queen and the Privy Council. And if it does, that will show the truth of the matter. That is the truth of the matter, because Christopher Steele is the Queen's agent. And you basically state that. And I love the way you say things. I would like to steal some of the way you say
it's
things.
funny?
But you would know that I took it directly from you. Because, it's these are the truths. When you actually state Hillary's real name, Kill Everyone Hillary, or Hildebeest, or any of the names we give to her, that's really who she is. And so when Trump names them, and the name sticks, he knows the power of words. And that's what we keep talking about.
But here's the thing. The crown, they're so far up in the pyramid that they put themselves up on. They don't know what we know down here at the ground level, and our troops are growing. We're educating and enlightening people all the time, and they don't know it.
Well, Queen Lizzie's daddy had an affair and had a baby before she was born.
Yes.
Oh, that's what they now know.
Did you see that?
And as soon as they get the DNA proof, and all they have to do is hire a what? They just have to hire a private detective. I assure you that I could go, and in one day, I could get you a hair from the Queen's brush from Buckingham Palace for $50. I assure you. So to get the Queen's DNA is nothing. As soon as we have it.
You don't need to get the Queen's. Just get Charles. He leaves his DNA everywhere.
That's very funny. But no, they want to have 99 point, whatever. And this man will show it because he has all the records.
Yes.
He has all the records, and before he dies, he was. And the other one I like.
Now, people are going to want to know where that video is, and I haven't posted it yet on the Cat Report, so I'm going to post it on the next one coming up. And all I can say, people, is you got to get your subscription to the Cat Report. At least it'll go into your email box, and you'll have a historic record of all this stuff.
Well, there's so many winning things. Please don't cut me off.
I'm sorry.
The daughter of the guy who was the driver of the truck that had the green light, that ran into Mrs. Biden and killed Joe Biden's wife, daughter, and injured his two boys, Joe always says was drunk. He said it on tape over and over and over again. Lie. Now, the daughter of that man, he's dead, is trying to clear her name and going to sue Joe. That could take him down also. But it's Joe Biden's
his wife.
son.
His wife was drunk. That was
No. The driver of the truck, Joe Biden says, did not have lunch. He drank for lunch and then later said that he was drunk.
But I have read now that it was Joe Biden's wife then.
Oh, she might have been drunk too. We don't know that.
Yeah.
But we know for a fact that the driver of the truck was not.
Yes.
And that's well known. And then this whole history and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And
So
this
it's
persecution by Joe Biden, Joe Biden, so that you could get people's sympathy.
All their
when
lies.
it's very possible that your son, who's a drug addict, and your other son, well, I don't even want to talk about him because it's so awful. And I don't want to talk about your wife and your daughter because it's so awful. But if she was drunk and had your children in the car and she ran a stoplight and then you blame it on the other person for the rest of your life, you're going to get sued. Oh, and Trump, let's remember now, I want to underscore this. Why is Trump suing CNN? Because Melania already won 2 private suits against...
Okay, but it's not Trump personally. It's the Trump campaign.
Well, yes, because that's the angle.
I know.
He can't as the president.
I know,
but he can.
Good.
The campaign can.
Yes.
And the campaign is taking Zucker's supposed Veritas video and tapes and the people who work at CNN and Zucker himself saying that he needs to attend everything towards impeachment. Everything must be impeachment before he sees any evidence. And by the way, Robert Mueller investigation, no evidence. Russian meddling. Yeah, no evidence. That's right. Trump anything, no evidence. Yeah, that's right. So what do? In the end, we take a telephone call, which we now know is totally fraudulent from the whistleblowers, and we make that the basis of impeachment. That's not going to go anywhere. So what do they now say? I love this. She insinuated yesterday, crazy Pelosi, and in between sentences and thoughts, because she never finishes a single one, and getting her teeth back in her head and not knowing where she is or who she's talking about and making reference to crazy things that have nothing to do with anything. She says she's going after Trump for perjury. When did Trump testify? And when can... What? In other words, listen to this. Think about this. There is no crime for the perjury. There's no accusations. There's nothing to hang it on. But when they intend during the trial to ask him questions, they believe he will perjure himself, and that will be the basis of impeachment.
Well,
isn't that dandy?
That's
the logic of Pelosi.
What you just described is death.
And AOC and Tlaib and Omar and all of them. Those are crazy women showing the true side of the Demon Rat Party, which has never been shown before in this way. They always get out there with the rhetoric, saying what Trump says and doing the opposite, promising to give everybody everything and help and make things better and be truthful and defending the poor and defending the weak and defending our... No, they never do any of that.
Take a breath, because this is what death on the information battlefield looks like. You know?
Yes.
Because they have no more propaganda to spew at us. We don't believe it anymore. Their lies are unraveling, exposing who they are.
Adam Schiff is a sissy, so I'm going to talk about him.
Okay.
Adam Schiff, 174 Republican congressmen say they will vote against Schiff. Now, what does that mean? To sanction him, to remove him from the committee, to sanction Pelosi, and what? Don't know. We haven't seen it. But the point is, right now, supposedly the word out there is, and I don't know where Trump got this, and I don't know who he got it from or who got this, I don't know. They say they're short 20-some votes to win impeachment in the House. Now, there's going to be no evidence presented. It's just going to be a standard party line vote. If it comes up, it's going to be voted on. Why didn't she vote? Now, let's make this clear. If you didn't pay attention, and if you didn't listen to us, you won't even understand what happened. The head of the minority tabled the question of voting for an impeachment inquiry. Now, that's complicated, but that means that the vote for the impeachment inquiry itself never happened. So there was no vote taken. And everybody voted to table it. So it looked like Pelosi won the first round. No, she didn't. She lost. She couldn't get the vote to win, and then it was tabled, which they didn't expect. And so now it sits there, and there's going to be no vote for inquiry, so therefore there is no inquiry. Therefore, they can do whatever they want. They can go by what regulations and rules and House rules, which they changed, I forget, 34 of them, I think, before as soon as Pelosi came in, I think it was 24. They changed 24 House rules so that they could do the impeachment calendar to take Trump out as soon as possible because they knew that the Robert Mueller investigation was a farce. There'd be no evidence. They knew that him testifying wouldn't get them anywhere. They knew that they knew Michael Cohen wouldn't work. They knew all the testifying before Congress means nothing. Nobody can be prosecuted. And if you are a politician in office, you can lie before Congress. You're like a lawyer before the judge. You can lie to represent your case. That's your job, is to lie and to exaggerate. That's what politicians do. They can't be held accountable for it. So what are we seeing now? It looks as if there might not even be a vote. Because if there's a vote, every Democrat who votes to impeach Trump in a district where he won, they lose. We win the House back. So if Pelosi shows who those people are and exposes who they are, she loses. Also, the Republicans who don't vote against impeachment in the House, they lose.
Yeah, but
that's what we want.
If they don't get the impeachment, their constituency, they're just not going to show up at the polls in 2020 because they didn't get what they want.
Yeah. And then let's say that it does pass and it goes to the Senate. McConnell says it'll be over by Christmas. Why? Because there's no evidence. Now, they have pulled in two of the worst lawyers that Schiff could find in America who will be attacking Trump. That's who's attacking Trump behind closed doors. That's who's probably asking the questions. Why? They are criminal prosecutors out of the Southern District of New York who have been working for 3 years to attack Trump. These are people who are experts at this. They will use lawfare, as Betsy loves to call it, in other words, the warfare of the court system, to win, but they're not going to win. So what we see is the age of woman, the age of truth, the age of wisdom coming upon us. And it's happening simply because we no longer defile Columbia. The District of Columbia is named after the being of wisdom. And when we no longer defile her and she stands upright there above the Capitol and she takes her rightful place in America and we pull the federal agencies back to the District of Columbia and stop allowing them to run the states and run the world and to sell out to globalism, we will see Columbia reinstated and the new age of woman will be here to stay.